Thanks for joining me once again as I am about to climb aboard for the first time, I will add, the Bear 650 recently launched from Royal Enfield. I think of all the bikes that I've looked at and read about and even test ridden, this was the least expected. In fact, when it was announced, it wasn't even on my radar, and I kind of like to keep close to the press. I read the Indian bike press, I read the UK bike press, I listen to rumours. There are bikes that I've kind of guessed to be out for a long time now. I mean, the classic 650 has been much talked about, but when it came to the Bear, yeah, complete left of field. And if I'm honest, I wasn't even that interested. It wasn't something that I was that bothered about until I saw it. And then I realised, wow, that really looks quite good. Not much different from the Interceptor. I already like the Interceptor, but it just seemed to have, I don't know, even more right than it already was, and it was already pretty right, if that even makes any sense. Then I heard the engine. A feast for the eyes and music to the ears. I think if it was an instrument, it might be a Stradivarius. I might be exaggerating, but really, seriously, absolutely stunning looking bike. Great exhaust note. Slightly higher riding position than I had expected, and I like that a lot. I've always preferred the higher riding position. He says, having come from a Meteor 350, which is very much a laid-back, lower-level riding position, but there's something about sitting up higher that I really enjoy. So when I got on this, it immediately felt at home. The actual bike itself, in as far as a kind of the Royal Enfield twin, just was immediately familiar, having ridden the Continental GT, the Interceptor and the Shotgun. So there was a familiarity about it which was comforting, yeah, absolutely great. So with the new Bear 650, there are a few colours that were announced at launch in the UK. There's the Golden Shadow, which is the one that I'm riding today. A stunning looking bike, and for a while it was my favourite. I thought that was a gorgeous looking bike. Then there's the 249, and when I saw that I thought, no, that's my favourite. I really like that, and I kind of think that the 249 is the one that could be the one that stands the test of time and could be a future classic. And then I saw the petrol green, and I thought, well, that's the cheapest one of the group, and actually the cheap is the wrong word, it's just the one that costs the least. But I thought that's a really nice colour, so that became a favourite. But the one I really liked ultimately was the yellow. Forgive me, I can't remember the actual term they used, but it's the yellowish one. It had a blue saddle, and I thought, oh yeah, that's definitely my favourite. Okay, you're getting a picture here. I like them all. But the bad news is that the yellow wasn't coming to the UK shores, which was a bit of a shame because I thought it was a really good colour. And then I heard more recently that that may not be the case any longer. In fact, it may actually be coming to the UK. So we are getting the yellow. And as much as I love the Golden Shadow, I like the idea of bright colours. You know, I saw a picture a while ago of a lot of cars in a 70s car park, and the brightness of the yellows, the reds, the blues, the greens, the oranges, the purples, all the colours that were really bright and cheerful. And you look at most car parks today and it's mostly black and greys and whites and the odd dark blue, and there are some bright colours, but I like the idea of colour, which is why, even though I love the Golden Shadow, the 249, the petrol green and the yellow with the blue saddle kind of really appeals to me. So yeah, as you can probably tell, I'm not a very decisive person. But let's get back to the bike. So it's the familiar inline twin cylinder 4-stroke single overhead cam. Its maximum torque of 56.5 Newton meters at 5,150 RPM for those who might be interested. 6-speed gearbox. A displacement of 648 cc, and then the power is 47.4 PS which kind of translate to about 46.7 horsepower. But you know, those kind of tech specs don't worry me. I'm not really that heavily into them, but for those who haven't ridden it, it gives you an idea. But this thing is just sweet. The power, the pull, the distribution is just lovely. Now, this particular example I was riding was only 90 miles into its life, so I treated it like it was mine. That is to say, I was very, very gentle, made sure it was very warm before I even thought about just going above 40, and treat it gently. But you know, you can just tell when the bike has enough power even without pushing it. And I am ultimately a Meteor 350 rider who just likes the comfort and the views of biking, not necessarily the power and the speed. So, you know, taking it easy on this was absolutely beautiful. Having said that, I do know this engine from others I've ridden, and this bike felt no different. It's just that I love that 650. In fact, the choice for me is I like the 350 and I like the 650. That's a done deal. I know which bikes I like, but actually it's which 650 do I get? And this bear is a serious contender. I think the colour schemes are great. I think the feel's good. I think the exhaust sounds are just gorgeous. I think the Interceptor I already loved anyway, but just seeing the Interceptor just subtly customized to look like a scrambler as this is, it's kind of just so much of what I love in a bike, and I'm sure many others will. The geometry, the seating position, the look, the sound, it's all there. It has everything. It's just difficult to find fault. In fact, no, that's not true. There is a fault, and there is a problem that I think we have with Royal Enfield, and that is that they make so many good bikes. It's very difficult to choose which one. It's almost easier to choose the engine than it is the motorcycle. I recently was looking at the VFR 800 from Honda, for anybody who's familiar with that, and that is a beautiful bike. They've stopped making them now because I think economically it was no longer viable to keep producing them. Plus you've got all the emissions standards continually evolving. It's a super complex engine, a super complex bike, but an absolutely stunning ride. Now, I'm not someone who wants to really or doesn't really maintain my own bikes. I oil the chain, I check the tyres, I fill it up with fuel, I keep an eye on the oil and all that stuff, but I normally go to a garage. So something like a VFR 800, which is, I know it's very different from these, but just bear with me. I just love that style of sports tourer. But there may be a time when I just want to maintain my own motorcycle. You know, I do want to learn about adjusting the chain, I do want to learn about changing the oil, I do want to learn about adjusting the valves. In fact, as I went down that list, progressively harder, because the chain and the oil I have done in the past, but the valves not so much. And I feel on a Royal Enfield, the beauty of the bikes, the simplicity of them, is that I could do that. But something like a VFR 800, I'm not sure I'd really, this is just me personally, I don't think I've got that level of competence. So that's why I love the Royal Enfield, and I think this particular example is just stunning. Maybe I need to stop thinking, stop looking, just make a decision, and one day buy one. Well, I will be sure to keep you posted if I do actually decide to buy a bike, but for the moment, just a few more bits and pieces on this bike for those interested. The front wheel's 19-inch. And the rear is 17-inch, and as you've seen from the pictures, they've got spoked wheels. It's very confident on the tarmac. I have absolutely confidence here, and it has been designed to go a little bit on the green lanes off-road. Personally, I'm a road rider. You know, that's what I do. I might go down the odd green lane, but I'd taken my Meteor down a green lane, so it's not like you can't take anything off, you know, you can't, it's not got the level of competence of an off-roading bike, but the Meteor, but this has just certainly got a bit more clearance and a bit more, you know, going for it if I wanted to do that, but I'm a road rider. It's got ABS and it's switchable as well if you want, so kind of gives you a bit of control over the riding. The TFT Monitor, as everyone reports, if anyone's watched any other videos, they never come out well on these, but it really is crystal clear, and it's got a lot going for it. The Tripper Dash, it's 4-inch round TFT display. It's got phone connectivity, the full map navigation powered by Google, and it has media controls, so you can control, if you wanted to, your phone from this device. And it's got a USB Type-C charging socket with a 5-volt 2-out amp output, which is kind of useful to keep your phone on charge, particularly if you're using the Google Maps from the phone to appear on the display. So yeah, it's another outstanding bike, but which one? If they only had the Interceptor and then this was to replace the Interceptor and maybe a classic 350, then it would be easy, but they've got so many good bikes, it's choosing the right one. So I'm going to continue on my quest. I'm going to reflect on this. I hope you found this video quite interesting. It's normally about this stage that people say, like and subscribe, but I would say just step back a minute. I post a ton of shit on music. I post a load of waffle about bikes. I'm not really consistent. It's a bit of music, it's a bit of bike. So I hope you found this of interest. But if you want to subscribe, great. But I'm really not worried because I'm all over the place. I just post what I like rather than just making it just a bike channel or just a music channel. But there we go. A special thanks to Hatfields of Crowthorne for loaning me the bike. I don't get paid anything for these videos. Nobody gives me anything. More often than not, I will top up the fuel because I just feel it's the right thing to do. This bike actually was full of fuel, so this is one of the rare occasions that I didn't. But there's no sponsorship. I'm just an average punter who doesn't know as much as most people do about bikes, but nobody loves them more than me. A real passion for riding my medicine machine and getting the most out of just two wheels, fresh air, and when it's not moggy and groggy and dull outside, just enjoying the fresh air on the bike. So, which I think is probably a lot of us. Anyway, safe riding, take care, and thanks for tuning in. Until the next time, bye for now.